Welcome to ParadoxWalk podcast, specializing in paranormal activity, UFOs, glitches in the Matrix, cryptids, any out of the ordinary or unexplainable events. Today we find a story of a young person that lost something inside of a dream to wake up finding that they lost it in real life, even though it was sitting right next to them before they went to bed, and the sky going completely black. There's been a few stories of people seeing the sky go completely black on a clear sunny day. Day turns to night for a few seconds and then it pops back up. Strange. I found a couple stories like that. Another one here about somebody that they claim that they have a sister with Down syndrome that started to know things about people that were complete strangers. So I'll start with this one. So sometimes these instances of blackouts, it's like people claim either they step into something that is just complete blackness out of nowhere, or the other one is like groups of people see it at the same time and it's just like a normal day, and then it's like someone shut off the sky and shut off anything with light around them. It seems pretty frightening. So this is one from a group in a high school that were eating outside at around noon. So, quote, so about 2 years ago, well, I don't know when this was posted, but the person's just saying, in school, my friends and I were sitting at a table outside our cafeteria where there were a couple of other tables. It was 12 in the afternoon, a sunny day, nothing weird had happened. Then my vision all of a sudden blacked out, like pitch black. I couldn't even see the outlines of stuff like you can in a dark room. Right when I began wondering if I had passed out, my vision went back to normal. The kids at the other tables were still being loud as high schoolers usually are, but everyone at my table was silent. Then my friend was like, did the lights just shut off outside? Trying to make sense of it. Then everyone at my table, like 5 or 6 people, was asking each other if their vision had just blacked out also. It was really weird, so none of us have talked about it since. Basically, everyone at my table's vision went black for a few seconds. I have literally no idea what could have caused this since we were sitting outside in broad daylight. I don't know whenever this was posted, but they say they can't find anything about it online. But there's this one website called soulguidance.com. It's like soul-guidance.com. And I think they have all these different weird stories. And if you click on House of the Sun, it brings up all these different experiences of people. So there's, I don't know, probably like 50 of them just on this page alone. And I've probably seen, another 20, 30, 40 on Reddit. So there's another like compilation of like probably another extra 40 or 50 of them. So there's hundreds of these experiences. One person says that they said it was like they were jumping across a little stream, and he said his words were, once he jumped across the river, just a few feet wide that a kid could jump across, and he was like 12 years old, or he described it as like hitting a wall of darkness, and the second his feet hit the ground on the other side, the darkness completely obscured his vision for a few seconds, like a hand was covering his eyes for a small period of time. And that's what people say. And then when groups are together, it affects groups. Some people will, like in a small area, will be affected, but people right next to them won't. Another thing that happens is people, once the sun gets covered up or blinks out, or sometimes claim that time seems to go slower. And sometimes they see it covering the area that they're in, and then areas where it outside, they can like see outside where everything else is normal. Here's one from the United Kingdom. Sky went dark for about 6 seconds. I'm in the United Kingdom, England, in a place called Shinewater, which is in Eastbourne. It is now about 9:20 a.m. and relatively bright, and the sky just went dark around this area like nighttime dark, but no stars or clouds, just pitch black. Quite a few people saw this, so I'm not hallucinating. My neighbor believes it was a sudden eclipse, but wouldn't that make everywhere else dark? I could clearly see the area known as the Downs, which is a rough bunch of high hills, and it was not dark over there from what I could see. It seemed like the light within about a mile radius, perhaps, just simply went dark, and I could very clearly see the Downs, all right, with natural light. The Downs being quite a relatively high landmark, so you can see them from quite afar. This may sound mad, but it was kind of like the sky was cracked almost. Like what I was seeing wasn't our sky. It was odd, and there was a really eerie feeling going on, but I guess that's just human nature when faced with something unknown. So if you don't know what Down syndrome is, I'm not like a healthcare expert or anything, but it seems to be, from what I've read, it's chromosome number 21 being copied an extra time inside of a genome. Everyone is supposed to get one chromosome from your mom, one from your dad, in a group of 23. And so you end up with 46 chromosomes. But what happens in Down syndrome is it appears that they get either partially copied of chromosome number 21 or for like a third instance of it. So they get like one from each parent and then like a partial copy for that chromosome. Or they get a complete third chromosome. And so that's called Down syndrome, and it makes certain characteristics. This is this person's story for that. I'm getting this from Reddit, and it says, sister with DS, that means Down syndrome, knows things about people she's never met. I'm just going to skip ahead to the stories. So she didn't just have Down syndrome, she was born premature, somewhere around 7 months. The person's not exactly sure. She had to be put into surgery just after being born. For the first 2 months of her life, she was in like newborn ICU. It's just like intensive care unit. And they said that she would talk to the ceiling and giggle like someone was playing with her. Then when she got to be about 3 or 4 years old, here's the first story. The girl with Down syndrome's name is Diana. And they all went to a Christmas party at a place for physically and mentally disabled people. Diana took classes, and the rest of us were like volunteers. They had this like stage thing going on for like the kids to have their picture done with Santa Claus on a stage. Quote, out of nowhere, Diana stands up and runs away from my mom and me into the crowd. We chase her, and she runs straight toward this older woman we had never met. Diana grabs the woman's leg and starts bawling. My mom and I are apologizing to the woman, saying we don't know what got into her. The woman looks down at Diana and asks her what's wrong, and this is where it gets weird. Diana tells her word for word, in the clearest way I had ever heard her speak, I am so sorry that your mommy left you. The woman starts tearing up and tells us that her mother had just passed away a couple of nights prior after a long battle with cancer. The second time Diana freaked us out, I was visiting with my mom and Diana when she was about 10. Diana starts telling me how she talks to Grandpa all the time. He passed when she was about 5, and starts telling me that she met Grandpa's wife. Well, Grandpa's wife, our step-grandmother, was alive at this point, and that's the only Grandma Diana ever knew. So I tell her, of course you met Grandma. She corrects me and says, no, Mommy's mommy. So my mom and I both froze. Our mom's mom has passed away when our mom was pregnant with my older sister, meaning none of us had met her. So my mom starts asking Diana questions about Grandma. She asks, what color was Mommy's hair? Diana responds, yellow, but not real. Mom goes on to explain to me that Grandma wore wigs because she had been balding after battling years of anorexia, and she's always worn big blonde wigs. So Mom asked Diana, do you know Grandma's name? She says, Jeannie, which was in fact our grandmother's name. Diana had never heard about Jeannie because it's a very sore subject to bring up around our mom, so none of us really know much about her. There have been many other instances of her just knowing things. She goes on to tell her that she called her in the middle of the night to tell her to leave, and then something bad happened to her. She got like beat up by a drunk boyfriend or something like that. So all of this seems very, very odd. There's another one I found like on this. I've heard of a couple stories like this. This one's called Where's My Kid? This is a mom, and she says, where's my kid? I have 4 kids. I know I have 4 kids, but recently I just feel like there should be another one, but it's missing. When we go out, I head count and I get flustered because I can't find the extra one. I have to consciously remind myself that there are only 4, but my heart just doesn't believe it. Well, I just put it down as one of those weird feelings and push it aside. Then my parents send money to the kids. They sent $500, and I called them and asked them why they put in so much. They were confused and said that they told me they were sending $100 for each kid. I reminded them that we only have 4 kids. They were silent for a moment, and then they just kind of laughed and said they just must be getting old because they were thinking there was 5. Then tonight, my daughter walked into the lounge room. She looked around and said, I know we're all here, but the family feels small. My son agreed. I hadn't even said anything to anyone about my feelings lately because they already think I'm ancient and forgetful at 40. Does anyone else ever have these feelings? And I did read another one like this where the mom said that she like called out for everyone to come to the dinner table, and all the kids like ran up and sat down, and And everyone stared at each other like for a second, and the mom was like thinking that there was supposed to be an extra kid, and then even the other kids like looked around for a second, like they all thought the same thing, but no one said it. Like there was supposed to be someone else there. Just strange, right? Here's one about something happening in a dream and then it ends up in real life. There's more of these stories than just, a couple people posting on Reddit. The channel my favorite channel is Beyond Creepy. That's the name of the channel, Beyond Creepy. He has a really great video called The Nightgown, and that's another story of somebody having something in a dream that they're supposed to give to her friend, and then she gives it to her friend in the dream, and then her friend wakes up with the object in her house. It's a really interesting one. So this is a similar one, but it's the opposite. It's like something disappearing. Quote, so one night when I was about 9 years old, or maybe 10, I was playing with my Nintendo DS in bed as 10-year-olds usually do. And when my mom told me it was time to go to bed, I sat down my game and I went to sleep. The game that was in the Nintendo DS was called Animal Crossings, which I'm only mentioning because I believe it's relevant to the story and you'll see later. So anyways, that night I have a very vivid dream, and it's of a man who I hadn't seen but still recognized enough for some reason, and he didn't startle me because of that. He's not a relative or a friend or anything like that, but in the dream I do recognize him, so he just doesn't scare me in that dream state. So in my dream, I'm sleeping, and then I wake up, and I open my eyes, and I ask the man what he wants. He wants my Nintendo DS, and says, I just want to borrow this. And I said in my dream, okay, and then just went back to sleep in my dream. And I woke up again, but I'm still in my dream, and I told the man to leave the game on my desk, which he did. And after the man left the game on the desk in my dream, I fall back asleep, and I woke up in the morning during my real life, not in a dream. But when I woke up that morning, I went to reach for my Nintendo DS beside my bed, and lo and behold, it wasn't there. I went to ask my mom and dad if they had taken it, and they said that they hadn't. I never found it and forget about it until a few months later when I was sitting at my desk doing my homework, and I looked to my right, and there was the game Animal Crossings for my Nintendo DS, but there's no way that it could have been there the whole time without me noticing. You're talking about months later. We've since moved out of that house, and I still never found my Nintendo DS, but I did find the game that I was playing that night. I went to sleep and couldn't find it. After I woke up, we checked my school and my grandparents' house at my aunt's house, and we never found my DS, the Nintendo DS. So that was 7 years ago, and it still kind of freaks me out. That's why I wrote the story. Because I don't know how many people have ever had something like that where they lose something in their dream and then they lose it in real life. That's really strange. This person ends up saying, it's the strangest thing that ever happened to me, is what they said. So I saved these ones for like a separate thing. This is the same type of thing as the blackout thing, but these are associated with almost a person having like a glitch in the matrix afterwards, or missing time or something like that. But it starts off with this like sun blinking out type thing. So, quote, I didn't think this was worth posting. This is a Reddit post again. It's called The Sun Went Out. But a few months ago, this was posted 3 years ago as of 2022, but a few months ago I saw a post about occasionally having their lights flicker no matter if they were at home or somewhere they had never been before, and having no recollection of blinking. I've had similar experiences. I'll be sitting in my room and my room goes black for less than a second, but I've had my eyes open the whole time. It's been normal and hasn't really freaked me out until yesterday. I was sitting in my living room where all of my windows were open. It had to be around 1 p.m. Everything went black, except it was different this time. It was more than a second. I could still see all my furniture, like when your eyes adjust to a dark room kind of sight, but no sunlight was coming in, although the curtains were open. It freaked me out. I closed my eyes, and I woke up in my bed an hour later. I'm really confused and a little scared. I never take naps. I know it wasn't a dream because my phone was right where I left it in the darkness. Can this be explained somehow? Because I'm freaked out. And there's another one like this. Delivery driver. I'm a delivery driver and I parked in an after-school daycare center parking lot. I was about to get things together when the sky went black for almost a second, and I don't mean it went completely dark as if I went blind. It was as if all of a sudden it was nighttime, and then as fast as it happened, it went back to daytime. I jumped out of the car to check if there was a plane that passed over or something hovering.